It's just terrible. But I'll try to make it within 5 minutes. Here is our project, the Association of Open Network. Russian Internet is wonderful. It looks like the takeoff of the rocket. We can, I guess, start with 2000, a new regulation. 2003, there is a new law on communications. Many things that are related to Internet are out of Russian regulation over crossing borders. Connection nodes, lack of the requirements for the network connectivity, whatever, all of that has provided for a wonderful environment that allowed the Russian segment of the internet to take off rapidly. What is the development in 2000? Basically, we had no industrial statistics, but an estimated manner, we had about 1.5 to 3 million users. In 2010, that was 40 million. By January 2015, in line with GFK Marketing Company, the Russian audience is 80 million people on a daily basis. Is that so good, though? If you take a look at this graph, it is not a technical one, it's a sociological one. That's the Fond Общественного мнения Public Opinion Fund survey, sociological organization. Beginning 2010, we start seeing a significant slowdown of the infrastructure internet indicators. If the penetration rate until then was growing by about some 23%, and in some years over 30%. And after 2010, we have about 10%. A similar situation with the domain of the .ru domain, some stagnation. My colleagues can correct me by the number of systems the Russians that are located in the Russian zone that are located in the Russian environment. We start having fewer systems that are located in the Russian address domain. What is the reason for this stagnation, if not to speak about the for probably objective reasons? We have penetrated all large cities over 1 million. Everything was established. The crisis of 2008-2009, when many operators and infrastructural companies were cutting their investment programs. After we overcame crisis, many other companies were in difficult situations, as many followed M&A strategies. One company is acquiring another one. It seems to be growing, but overall in the market we don't see the growth. As well as other reasons, beginning 2010, we started some internet regulation waves of large amplitude and no lower than the DDoS attacks. And what are we to expect by the end, the stagnation of 2014, whether it will materialize in the crisis or not? Was the risk in the year 2014-2015? We might have a synergistic effect that would lead to some rather sad consequences. Talking about objective factors, well, we don't want to talk about, say, subjective factors. I'd like to talk about regulatory factors. Why regulating internet is so fashionable, and why it's unlikely that internet regulation is unlikely to decrease. Internet market, from the economic point of view, is a significant market. That's 5 trillion rubles. And some 9.5% of GDP, and that's including some communication services and the indicators of Russian Association of Electronic Communications, as well as Ross Statistics Agency. Altogether, respect to GDP percentage, the growth of internet economy is much higher than other industries, 25%. Even with a negative scenario, they expect 6 to 10%. In the crisis situation, that would be at least 3%, which would be much higher than the growth of the country. Secondly, internet, that's political market. We have some 80 million people, daily audience, that's 72% of the electors of the country. The level of the trust is back 43% of population trust in the internet-based information. If last year, against the background of Ukrainian events, the level was much lower, now those numbers are back to, as well as that, Foreign policy, political market, 3% of the world audience, as well as 6.1% from the point of view of pages, and from the point of view of many internet companies, Russian-speaking internet markets, 300 million people, which is either where Russian is either first or second language. Thus, against this landscape, that's what is causing this regulation, political waves. Who are the sources of those waves? Are those only agencies of authority? Well, not only. I'd be going through the slides. Please take a look, and I would be speaking about some other stories. Here you see who are the initiator of the respective movements. That, well, Vox Populi is the public, as well as obviously a Russian regulatory authority. Against that background, we start having interesting phenomena, the so-called fast track yesterday in internet, today is in the parliament, and tomorrow is as published as a law in the Russian newspaper. Once regulators are skipping many necessary procedures of export, support, public assessment, discussions, etc., are legalizing some of the initiatives quite quickly through the parliament, etc. At the same time, of course, the quality of respective initiatives are very low. There is no export work of those export assessment on those initiatives. All keeping in mind the situation that we see, it's unlikely to expect that the number of regulatory initiatives would grow smaller and the quality will improve. Would be naive. The position of the regulator expressed here, Roskomnadzor, Russian agency, okay, we are okay with any initiatives, but make sure that we can test, check, technically control the implementation of respective initiatives. Rossvязь agency also has their position, and Ministry of Communication says, is that all? Well, what can they do to just engage in the process? Well, what can be done in this situation? Well, there is a proposal. You need to take control of the situation. Famous quotes by the famous authors. Now, what needs to be done to take the initiative in our own hands? Let's take a look at this field. The main actors would be Russian internet community or international internet community. Doesn't really matter. In this case, Russian state agencies, and let's say national regulation in this area, as well as internet governance ecosystem, international as it is. The main issue is the communication between those three players. All those parties have their formats and regulation procedures of interaction. They have their own language, their own bureaucracies, which are not compatible, and overall interaction of those three parties follows usually one of the patterns. Those are pathological. I have seen myself being part of those. They look more or less like this. Do we have any solution to this? We believe there is, and the solution is that we need to develop some entity, some organization, non-profit, NGO, which is equally distant from all the participants, some sort of a mediator, a proxy between the players that would have a well-tuned interface and protocols for all the participants and would have a proper engine inside. Talking about interface and protocols, that solution will lead to all the communication patterns to that. This is this organization that we blamed for everything. The interface and protocols. What should this organization be look like from the point of view of the internet community representative structure that should include the users and professionals? It should foresee individual and corporate participation. It should have various participants of Russian internet community, ISPs, backbone operators, IX, DEC, from the point should be elected boards, and the council, as well as over some boards where representative of the government and possibly public groups can engage, not management boards, but an oversight boards that would supervisory board that would make sure that the organization performs. From the point of view of Russian state authorities, a representative of engaged in the supervisory board. Secondly, in a mandatory manner, to be taking part in the interaction with all the committee. and councils with various institutions that we have in the country. Well, once again, life will obviously prove which interactions with whatever existing state structures would be most fruitful from the point of view of international internet governance organizations, the participation in regional, international, intergovernmental organizations such as ITU and TOD, etc., etc. What should be inside that organization? The main focus should be the critical internet infrastructure. Only this, we are not going into space and working in such space as RAEC. We are not interested to work with us, go into services, content, high-level media policy, and correcting the situation in the regulation. The regulation should be expertise-based, on professional expertise, as well as the regulation should be objective data-based, technical data, economic data, sociological data, etc., etc. For this, the organization will have to do the following things: monitoring various initiatives, legislative ones, regulatory ones, and from the point of view of policy development process and technical standardization initiatives. We'll have to engage expertise, development, promotion of respective developing and supporting expert network, providing the work of design expert working groups, and we would invite ENOG to have some working groups and secretariat in the organization and represent the functions in various structures from the point of view of technical competencies and technical skills, support of projects related to leader functions and the operator intermediary of RIRs. Creation, support of infrastructure and services from the point of view of security, various registers, internet routing, and developing support of systems of internet monitoring and measurement. I believe we are on the right path. I believe we would win that way. I'm inviting you to association on the 24th of June. We are having a general meeting in Moscow. Information will be available on the website. We would have... thank you, Kazan.